Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Countdown to Curiosity Landing NASA social event here at NASA's Jet Propulsion.
big it is and the challenges that we have overcome to get here. So I like to talk about why it is we're going. This is, of course, for our analogy this week, the decathlon of the NASA Olympics. It is the pinnacle event that we have been planning for nearly a decade. I I, of course, remember talking about this mission in particular during transition team with Dr. Alachi over 3 years ago, and we have been excited ever since. We're in the last sprint phase of this decathlon, but that sprint, of course, we know has a few more challenges. It's like folks are going to be putting a lot of obstacles in the end of the sprint here as we watch our exciting finish. But why do we go? Why do we go to Mars? Why do we spend the attention and important focus of the U.S. space program on going to Mars? And for me, it's fairly straightforward, because we can, right? We're humanity. We explore. Now that we can do a mission like this, of course we must. Of course we must. It challenges our spirit, our soul, as well as our technology. It challenges people to think beyond themselves at a time when we don't do that often enough. How many of us have ever thought, how did life begin? Where else is life in this universe? Who ever thought that we would be able to send a mission to Mars of this size and scope in this challenging time in the world and in the United States? This is something that NASA is doing on behalf not just of the American people who fund NASA, but on behalf of the world and on behalf of humanity. So we go for all to find out how life began, where there are analogies to Earth at Mars, what happened to Mars as a wet planet, and what other questions that are unknown that we can answer. So you are going to hear the difficulty of this mission. We know that we do things because they're hard. That was a statement by an earlier politician that challenged us to go to the moon. And that is, of course, what NASA continues to do. Missions drive our technology. Missions drive what it is that we advance in this nation so that we can out-innovate the rest of the world. NASA's mission, our vision, is to reach for new heights and reveal the unknown so that what we do and learn will benefit all humankind. So what better mission to reach for new heights and to reveal the unknown, but again, not just because we can, but to benefit all humanity. The benefits that we get from driving this human spirit as well as the human technology is something that I think the whole world will be looking to on Sunday night. And you have right here in this room a front row seat, but because of technology, all of us will watch together, perhaps holding our breath. And so I urge you to just think about the bigger picture as you're reporting on this mission and watching this mission, maybe talking to your families and your friends about this mission, and remember what a unique time it is to live when we are able to do things like this on behalf of humankind. So welcome all of you to the NASA Social. We will be here all weekend. We have lots of great events planned, and I just want to wish the JPL family, the NASA family, Godspeed and good luck, and thank you.
Thank you, Lori, and I want to take this opportunity to both thank Charlie Bolden and Lori Garver for their leadership and really the support that they have provided the team, JPL, or the NASA centers who have really worked on this mission. Now, on Sunday evening, I would suggest people on the West Coast at 9:15 p.m. you go out and you look toward the west, and you're going to see Saturn, and next to it you will see Mars. And just think to yourself that we have a car-sized rover which is heading toward that planet and is going to be landing on it about an hour later. And to really show you what NASA is doing, at 9:16 the space station will be rising.
Really hard. In the scale of human endeavors, it is one of the most difficult things that we have ever done within the space program in terms of planetary exploration. Without a doubt, this is the most difficult mission we have ever attempted in robotic planetary exploration. If you look back in history, there have been 39 missions to Mars. MSL Curiosity, Mars Science Lab, will be the 40th, only about 40% of them are successful. And of the ones that we actually attempt to land on the surface, less than a third have been successful. And so this is not a guaranteed deal at all. This is a very risky thing. There's a lot of things associated with the technical difficulty of actually just getting to Mars in the first place that can and have gone wrong in the past. And there's a lot of things about Mars that we still don't know that can surprise us. And the Mars environment itself could be a surprise. Everything technically can work perfectly, and we come down and we get down to close to the Mars surface, and all of a sudden there's that one rock that we didn't see and couldn't plan for that just happens to be the pathologic case that caused us to lose a mission. So this stuff is all a possibility, and just be prepared for that, for the fact that there's nothing guaranteed in this game at all, and that's part of what exploration is all about. We're attempting something really hard, we're attempting something that's new, and you're going to be along for the ride with us in terms of how this all turns out. We welcome that, we enjoy it, but be nervous with us, I guess is part of the message. In terms of what you're going to be seeing and hearing today, and I'm not going to get into all the details of it because you're going to get a full dose throughout the rest of the day, but there are two things that you're going to be hearing in detail about. One is there's a lot of stuff that you've probably heard already about the issues about the technology that are involved and how we're going to get down the surface. You'll get a lot of information about how what we call the EDL, the entry, descent, and landing process actually works. All the steps that are required, as Charles Lachey said, to slow from 13,200 miles an hour when we hit the top of the Mars atmosphere down to zero, hopefully just above the Mars surface and not below it. At this point, we are on course. We've done what we think may be the last trajectory correction maneuver at this point. We are going to hit Mars and the Mars surface at 10:31 p.m. on Sunday evening. The only question at this point is how fast are we going to be going when we get there. You're going to get all the details on how that whole process is going to work. It's going to be interesting because for those of you who've been in the game before, it's very similar and yet at the same time it's very different. You're going to recognize certain parts of it, the heat shield, the parachutes, the same sort of structure and architecture we've used before. But then you're going to hear the details about the sky crane, which is something that's brand new. We've not done this before. This is a first-time use. And really in the true complete configuration, when we get to Mars, literally is the first time it has ever been used as a complete system. Just because of its nature, we actually have never been able to test it as a complete system on Earth. So this is the first time, and you're going to get to watch it with us. You're going to hear all the details of that later on. The other part of it, though, is once we get to Mars, why are we doing this? You're going to get a full dose of the science, the real reason the mission exists. This is the first astrobiology mission that NASA has flown to Mars since Viking. The real purpose behind this mission, the reason that we're going, is because we want to look at Mars and understand the environment of Mars and see whether that environment has ever been compatible for life. This is not a life detection mission. It's a subtle but important distinction. We're not going to look for life, but we're going to show that we know that there's an ancient water history. We know that the water is still there in some cases as frozen water ice. We want to try to understand, in addition to the water, are there other environmental factors that could have allowed life to evolve on Mars if it ever got started? If the answer to that, as identified by Curiosity, turns out to be yes, then the next missions that are down the road will say, okay, now that we know the water's there, we know the environment is there, now let's actually look for signs of life, and that's that way the future of Mars exploration. And you're going to hear a lot about that this afternoon. Let me give you a little preview about what you're going to hear on Sunday. There's a very interesting configuration that is going to be used to send the signals from the Curiosity spacecraft back to Earth. We actually have 4 independent pathways that are being utilized. We have a set of orbiters in orbit around Mars right now. We have Odyssey, which got there in 2001. We have the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter for 2005, and we have the European Mars Express mission, which arrived at the end of the year in 2003, that are all in orbit right now. We're going to be using each of those as a communications relay satellite to get all the information back during entry, descent, and landing. In addition to that, there's a separate pathway direct to Earth from the spacecraft. What's interesting, though, is it turns out that no one of those assets is actually able to provide complete communications all the way through the process. So we're constantly sort of switching between them for different parts of the entry, descent, landing process. And so you're going to see different things happening as we sort of switch between the various different satellites in terms of how we're getting the information back. If everything goes well and all of those communication satellites and assets work the way we hope they will, it is entirely entirely possible that literally around 10:32 p.m. on Sunday evening, we will have confirmation that we are down, we are safe, and we are stable on the surface of Mars, and you'll see the entire place erupt and cheer and everything else. It is also, and you know, that depending on how the compact works, you'll get that answer pretty quickly. Also, being realistic, as I said, only about 40% of these missions have worked. If we should have a bad day for any reason, it is also entirely possible we will have that answer very quickly. But there's a third stage, and this is just to sort of set expectations so you guys understand about it. We can have a very quick, very good, basically the answer will be very clearly white, very clearly black, but there's also a bunch of shades of gray in between. Not quite 50, but maybe 10. That there are chances that we can lose some of those communications assets, but have an entirely safe, stable spacecraft sitting on the surface, and yet not be able to communicate back for a little while. It's possible that it could be up to 3 days where we have a rover safe on the surface, but we actually don't know it yet. And so there will be a sort of communication black. The inverse is also true. We also could have a bad day and not actually be able to confirm it for up to 3 days. So in terms of the expectations for Sunday evening and what you see and what you'll be able to actually really know, I said there's the white and a black answer and then 10 shades of gray in between. We don't know. We won't know until Sunday night exactly which one we're going to get. But this is, again, just to sort of let you guys know what's coming. The last piece I want to tell you about is, once we're down safe on the surface, what happens after landing? This, again, is a case, as Laurie sort of implied, that this is a little bit of a marathon, not a sprint, in terms of how this mission is going to operate. Unlike prior missions where we're getting a lot of imagery back immediately after landing and the first day after, this is one where we're actually going to be checking out the rover for a number of days. The images that we'll get back will be full, amazing images, but they're going to be at a more sedate pace. The lifetime of this mission, unlike prior ones where Spirit and Opportunity, for example, were designed for 90-day missions, they have gone on well beyond that, but their primary mission was only 3 months. This rover has a primary mission of 2 years. The expectation is that the science results and the engineering results will come back at a slower rate. They'll be more rich, more complete, but they'll be paced differently. And so the thing we want to make sure that people understand is it may take a couple of days before that first real high-resolution image comes back, before the video of the landing process actually comes back as we descend through the atmosphere. And just be prepared for that. It may take a couple of weeks before the real high-resolution panoramas come back. It may be a few months before we drive to this science target of highest level of interest. But once we get there, you're going to see results like you've never seen anything before. So again, my job is to sort of introduce you to what you're going to be hearing for the rest of the day, what you're going to be seeing this weekend, and what you're going to be seeing out through the rest of the mission as it progresses. Have a great time. Please feel free to get in touch with any of us afterwards and ask questions and get as much information that we can help you with. Thank you.
Panels where we're going to take a lot of questions, not only from here in the room, but also from all the other NASA centers. But right now, I've got a very special guest to introduce. If you're curious about how the name Curiosity was chosen, some of you may know, some of you may not know that it was an essay contest for students to write, to propose a name and write an essay for why that name should be chosen. And with us today, we have the winning student, Clara Ma. Come on up, Clara. And Clara was the person who submitted the name Curiosity, and this was actually a few years ago, and you were a little smaller than I remember. So, Clara, I'm going to ask you to read your winning essay so everyone can hear how beautiful that was, and then we'll take a couple questions here in the room.
I wrote this when I was 11.
Computer at home, you know, a laptop, your PC, your Mac, whatever, any reasonably modern computer. And we've been live now for just under 2 years. We've done many, many missions. We were live. It's a simulation of exactly what Curiosity is going to be doing between now and 10:31 on Sunday evening. And what we're looking at right now on the screen, if we can go to the live video, is a live view of where Curiosity should be right now. As Stephanie mentioned earlier on this morning, we've just crossed the 500,000-mile mark to Mars. In about an hour or so, Mars would appear exactly the same size to Curiosity as the full moon appears to you on the Earth. We are getting awfully close. Mars is getting big in the window. And this is a real-time 3D tool. This isn't just a video. You can drag around. This is much like showing you everything that Curiosity does in the video you'll have seen, but you're the camera person. You can stop, go backwards, forwards, inside out, and upside down. But because we And you can see the countdowns on the right-hand side as the different events occur. Here comes the parachute, one of my favorite parts, because the parachute gives this thing an enormous jolt. And you can see the whole stack kind of wobbling around as the dynamics of pulling 9+ G under a supersonic Martian parachute. Let's go ever so slightly further. And there goes the heat shield. I'm now going to pause the action and stop. And now we can have a look around. Let's go and look at the heat shield. Here it is. Some of the engineering panel will be telling you all about the heat shield. I'm sure you can see the medley suite of instruments on the inside of the heat shield. Let's go back to the rover. It's right there. Astonishing. So give it a try at home, eyes.nasa.gov, and you can ride all the way with Curiosity right to the surface of Mars. And follow us at NASA_eyes. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much, Doug. My name is Stephanie Smith. I'm a social media specialist here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It is my honor to introduce our Curiosity Science panel. Now, for any mission, the science goals dictate the instrument payload. So, our panelists today are going to tell us, why is Curiosity a robot chemist, toting everything from cameras to a geology lab to a rock vaporizing laser? So first on our panel is Ashwin Vasavada. Of JPL, he's the MSL Deputy Project Scientist. Next up on the panel is Pan Conrad of Goddard Space Flight Center, Deputy Principal Investigator for the Sample Analysis at Mars, aka SAM instrument. And finally, Ken Edgett of Malin Space Science Systems, the Principal Investigator of the Mars Hand Lens Imager, or MALI instrument. So they'll tell us a little bit more about their roles on the mission, and we'll open things up for questions after that. So Ashwin, go ahead and blind us with some science.
All right, good to see everybody. Thanks so much for your interest and support of this mission. It's so exciting this week. It's good to see Clara again. I remember I was sitting on the bus on the way back from the launch. I was looking around, turned behind me, and she was there. I was like, whoa, it's a celebrity. So that was cool. Good to see you again. This week, we have been doing a lot of exciting things. For one thing, every time I walk down the hall, more of our science team is here. We have over 400 scientists from around the world taking part in this mission. And just this morning, I saw another whole crowd from Spain and another whole crowd from France. And then, of course, we have hundreds from the United States as well. So this is great to be a part of this big international mission. As you know, the primary goal of Curiosity is to understand the habitability of Mars, whether Mars could have ever supported life. And we've spent 5 years scouring the planet, using all the data we can from all the orbiters at Mars, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Global Surveyor, the Odyssey spacecraft, really picking apart the surface of Mars, trying to find the very best place on Mars where we could understand this question. whether Mars could have ever supported life. And the most likely time, we think, in terms of Mars history, was its early history, when there's all this water flowing around the surface, and all dry now, but all this evidence of rivers, lake beds, maybe even ocean in the northern hemisphere. So we targeted that early time period of Mars before it became the kind of dry and more barren planet it is today. And then we looked in detail where are the best individual sites where you could put a rover down and drive, a couple tens of miles maybe. Basically, we have multiple chances to ask, was the clay-bearing era the time when Mars was most habitable? What happened to change that environment to the sulfate salt-bearing era? And then how did we get to the era where we are today? So this is an incredibly exciting site, nothing like you've ever seen. We're going to be climbing a mountain. We're going to be driving this rover through canyons. By land that formed at the base of a channel that once carried water and has distributed sediment over the landing site. So right away on Monday morning, the rover will be sitting on a feature that formed by flowing water at one point in Mars' path. We couldn't be more excited about this. These guys are probably...
So trying to make a judgment about habitability is really tough. And although I, of course, have a certain bias towards the SAM instrument, I know from my years in the field trying to assess habitability, it takes a lot of different measurements that all fit together, and it takes a lot of the measurements with all that bevy of other things. So the thing that's most exciting to me, as a person who's been in the field a lot,
we're going to look at them like this, and we're going to say, oh, look, it changes from sand to silt and to pebbles, and those will tell us how the environment is changing with time on Mars.
All right. Well, it's time to turn this into a true multi-center social. It's time for your questions. We'll be taking them from here in the house, as well as at the 6 other NASA centers who are connected. And they'll let us a couple questions in the house, and then we'll go to the audio bridge. So if you're in the house and you have a question, raise your hand and wait for the microphone to come to you. Who's got a burning science question? There we go.
Is there things you're hoping to learn first? Like, what are you planning to look at first? Or is this something that's just going to develop as you find information as you go? Oh, if that made sense.
Sure. I'll take one part of it, which is maybe the more operational point of view, and then you comment maybe on the scientific. It is true that this is the most complex spacecraft that JPL has ever built, and one of the more complex that NASA has ever built. And so we're going to take our sweet time learning how to use this thing on the surface of Mars. We want to do things carefully because this is at least a 2-year mission, maybe 10 if we're lucky. And we want to not screw up, really. So the first few days after landing,